Hi, this is Susan and My Mini Madness. I want to talk about the Greenleaf Dollhouse kits. I'm building the WILLOWCREST. That's this dollhouse. And it's not, to me, it's not a 1/12 scale. It does say that it's 1 inch to 1 foot. So we'll see. But it seems kind of small in these rooms. Now, the instructions that I'm going by are a little bit confusing because I think you're supposed to know what room is what. So let me tell you, the entry is through this door right here into there, and the stairs, which you don't see anywhere in this picture, are right up in here on the front side. And so I believe this is the kitchen, and the front would be the dining room, and then the back would be the living room, I guess bedroom, bathroom, and then this is, I think, just called the attic. But there's odd names that I don't recognize, and I've done a lot of dollhouses, so I'm just struggling through this. But the good news is once I get through this, first, I'm on the second page, and I found the staircase that I did very easy. So I didn't even need to read the instructions. So let me tell you a few things. It says in the instructions to leave the sheets. These are all in sheets of 3 plywood. That means 3 different directions of wood is pressed, glued together, and it's still very thin. Let me show you a piece there. It ends up being that thin. But and then it's a slotted. You might call it tabs and slots, or you might call it notches, but it's slots that you interconnect, and then you put the siding on. And the siding is this thin. It's a bundle of these strips after you break them apart. So this was the only thing that really got me was putting this siding on, that it's not milled into the dollhouse. And of course, the less expensive the dollhouse, then you have to do more in assembly. So it's not milled, so it was less expensive. But they have great designs. Greenleaf has wonderful, I think, the best designs. They're more intricate. They're more, the trim is more intricate looking. But again, it's a less expensive dollhouse. So let's get on. So you need to know what the rooms are. You need to see the stairs. They don't really show you that. And in this drawing, they give you enough. In the pages, they do give you pictures. And this dollhouse is gosh, it's 20 years, 15, 20 years old. And I punched it out, most of it, a long time ago. So you can see there's pictures throughout that help you. But the silverfish have eaten through my instructions. And so I've lost lines of words. But the schematics are, let me show you what the schematics, and just look at that, they ate the whole section out there. But the schematics are per page. This are per sheet of wood, and it tells you to wait until you're at that sheet to punch it out. That's not me. That might be you, but I thought it would take forever. So what I did was punch these out, and I put the number of which sheet it came out of on the piece, every piece that came from that sheet. Well, that really wasn't enough. So I'm telling you, I'm going to make all the mistakes so you don't make them. So the thing you want to do is take some masking tape, and for example, these pieces right here are part of the chimney. This is the second sheet, number 2. So I wrote simply to chimney while it's on the tape with your Sharpie marker. Don't write it on the piece, because don't take the tape off and write it on there, because you'll end up getting the Sharpie on the piece, and that'll be so hard to cover. So you do it this way, and then just pull that off and put it on your piece. And now that tells you, what sheet it came out of. You can go back to your schematic if you need to, but it tells you the chimney when in the directions say chimney 2. So I also bundled things, and I put them in bags. So that helped too. So if I was working on the stairs, which I've already taken out of the bag, then I had that all in one bag, and I had it marked stairs. And I only had trouble with one piece, and goodness, it was hiding underneath another piece, and I looked everywhere for it. So that part, if you get organized, I just am not the person that would wait to punch out each piece, because they need to be sanded, and you need to check them to make sure that you don't need to put wood filler. And let me show you 2 examples of needing wood filler. And this is the wood filler I got at the Home Depot. So I think this is plenty. That's the thing I want to say also. If you get a bigger container, it will dry out over time, especially this season. So you see right in here, a piece of it, I tried to glue it back in, but a piece came out, and I didn't see it until I primed all of my trim. And I didn't sand. I really do need to sand. But we were facing storms, and so I wanted to prime really quickly to give it some strength when I go at it sanding. But we'll see. So that needs a little wood filler. This piece right here, you can see, this has happened on a couple of pieces where it had broken off, and I need to fill that with wood filler. And that'll be fine, you know. That's what it is. So when you're taking these out of their sheet, get yourself a little sanding block, and you want to sand on the back of it. Let me show you an example. So this is the crown piece right here, and on this you can faintly see that all these pieces need to be punched out. Now I just didn't have, I don't know, this was the only piece that I had trouble with. I just thought if I mess up on any one of these, it's going to mess up the whole piece. So, but in all the other pieces, I had pretty good luck. You sand a little bit, you know, mark it with a pencil, go over it with your your craft knife, or X-Acto knife, if you need to do that. And you can go rock your knife kind of into these various pieces. But I wasn't having luck with getting any of these one pieces out easily. So what I decided to do, and you might try this, is I took the first layer. I just dug out the first layer of plywood so that there would be a little bit of a recess. And I'm going to darken this. I'm just going to put a darker color, drop back the color so that it will give the impression it has a little bit, they're recessed just a slight bit, and I'm not going to worry about it after that, because that's just a lot of pieces to try to get out, and I just wasn't having the luck I had with everything else. This was a difficult piece. So typically, you're going to sand the back, use your X-Acto craft knife, whatever, to kind of work on the line that's already indented there. And then you might need like a punch of some sort to help, push against the piece. Go gentle with all of it, because, it works better if you go gentle than to wrestle it and have to use your wood filler on everything. So when I said I bundled things, instead of waiting, I'm talking about I really bundled things. So this is an example of interior doors. Now each of these doors has the number of the sheet it came off of, but I went ahead and put them in a bag marked interior doors. And there's a ton of these. There's 2 bags of these little pieces. So I bundled with painter's tape, because masking tape is gummier. Use painter's tape, and I bundled the pieces that were the same size, width and length. And I put them all in here. They are marked with what page they came, or what sheet they came off of. And so I thought this was a good way of keeping track of all these little small pieces, because there are there's at least this many more that you'll use, a lot of them on the stairs. And so I think that helped. If you want to wait and pull each piece out, as you use it, then you're okay. That's good. That's what they say in the instructions. I'm just wanting to knock this out faster. Okay, so here is what I've gotten done so far. And let's look at it. Okay, now before this, I read over the instructions. It didn't make sense to me, and I've built, this is my 13th dollhouse to build. It just didn't make sense to me right off the bat, but as I'm doing it, I'm getting it. So I'm sharing what didn't make sense to me as I go along. And I'm going to build this in blocks because it's really hard to film this height and width, and I'm working in this really small area because my other dollhouse is over in my bigger area. And so, and then I have my dollhouse on the platform. If you've seen my videos of all the dollhouse that shows all the different rooms, you'll know what I'm talking about. And that's a Duracraft. And that was actually built by slats up, but they were milled. They were like 3-4 milled slats of wall, and you have to glue them together and build them up. So it was an inexpensive dollhouse that required a lot of labor. Okay, so the first thing I didn't understand was when to glue, when not to glue. And so I read over that, and what they're trying to say is you're going to be moving things around in that part, so they don't want you gluing it, they just want you putting it together. Excuse me. Allergy season. They just want you putting it together. Okay, so the first floor base and the front, this first floor down here, and this second floor have to interconnect. It's tricky, but once you get it, you get it. And what it is, I've drawn it here, is say this is your front with your curve at the top, and say this is your second floor piece. And I've cut a little slit to show just what the piece looks like. It actually has a slit, and they want you to slide the floor piece into, well, the base first, and then this is, second and third floor. They want you to slide that in, and when you've reached the notches, when the notches, go into their slot, you've got it in place. But in the meantime, you can't force it too much, but they say like wiggle it into place. So I was wiggling and wiggling and wiggling, and I got about this far, and it wouldn't wiggle anymore. And I was pulling and twisting, and I couldn't get it to go. So I was looking for my rubber mallet, couldn't find it. So I have this little craft hammer, but don't do the hammer like that. Just tap from the side of the hammer. Just tap, and you will get it into place. Just be as patient with it as you were with, punching out pieces. So that's it. That's what they're saying, is the slots have to slide together, and you're moving it around, you're wiggling it into place. Okay, so I've gotten this far, and that's why I'm showing it to you, because now they want me to put in the stairs. And so the stairs, putting the stairs together was really simple. Finding where they went in was not so simple because you can't see it on the picture. And so I was like, okay, it's somewhere. I know they talk about all these stairs. It's got to be here. Okay, so it's hidden behind the entry. This is the entry right here. And the stairs is hidden from this wall here, which is really a good design. So putting these together was, I didn't even read the directions. I just grabbed the pieces. It all made sense, and I put it together. And then putting this decorative part, let me pull this out for you and show you what I'm saying. Well, I say that, but now I've got it. See, it's notched in. It's into its notches. I don't know if I can get it out after I put it into its notches. Nope. It's already in its notches, and it's going to take a lot to get it out. But this trim, I've just got it taped on here to show you how it slides into this notch right here. And when you think everything is not going well, like this, you're going, oh my gosh, it just slid right in. Wow. So it's, you know, and I dreaded the stairs. I thought that was going to be the worst. And it just slid right in. It just went together and it just slid right in. So this is the decorative side of it on the inside. So this is as far as I've gotten. And let me see there. Oh, I'm using a primer on the trim. All this white trim. You can see there's a whole lot of it. So I've taken all these pieces and I'm priming them. And I'm going to sand on them a little bit and then finish painting them. So you can sand on them first, or you can prime and sand. I thought the primer might fill in and help kind of hold them together better. We were going to have a storm, so I wanted to get that done. So you decide what works for you. And I'm really getting comfortable with what I was afraid of. So you'll find that too, that it's you're trading off being thinner wood and a little fuzzy at times, you know, getting used to the way they put it together. But then you get this wonderful trim and design. Whoever designed the Greenleaf dollhouses was really an amazing, I guess, architect. They are really wonderful. The Beacon Hill, which is the all-time favorite of dollhouses, is a Greenleaf. And there is someone who built it and talked a lot about how they put other pieces on it. And they didn't put the Greenleaf pieces. And that's always an option. Like all these decorative corbels, they didn't punch out perfectly. And so I'll try some this wood filler, but then I might just go ahead and cut my own pieces with my little mini table saw. That's an option, because there's like regular size trim that you can cut. And if you go to my shelf video, making shelves and making them look like carved shelves, that shows that piece of wood in it. And you'll be able to go and buy it. So you might want to put a door. These windows are, let me show you the window pieces. Those are layers. So you start out, let me set this down. So you start out with this first piece. Then you get the second piece. Now sanded, painted, well, glued together. The prime, I could just prime and then glue them all together and then give them a final coat with the satin. I'm doing satin. So then it just layers, and so it's easy to recognize what's what. Most of this, you know, sort of just makes sense. At least half of these pieces you'll recognize them. The other, you'll go, oh, okay, I get that. But see how it comes together. So you just have to glue these in groups. That's why there's so many pieces, but a lot of them go together to create the windows, this, you know, all these different windows, and then there's a couple of different styles, and then this door, and of course there's, you don't see this in this picture, but you see this one. This is a bay window on this side, and then over here is a flat window that's higher up. So I suspect that's where the sink is supposed to go in the kitchen. And then if you notice, all inside there's these trim pieces that go around the windows and the doors, as well as these tiny little fireplaces, which don't seem to scale to me. Seems more like 1/16 scale, but we'll see. So that's where I'm at. This is the first part. So I wanted to ask y'all, if you will tell me what you would use this for and what color you would do it. Because I went to the store and I went through, oh gosh, an hour or more of looking at colors. You know how that is. And all those swatches, you just can't take it. You just like grab and swatch, swatch, swatch. And so I finally narrowed it down to 3 colors and 3 different ideas for what I want to do with the dollhouse. And then the alarm went off for a storm, tornado, hail warning. And so I had to leave the store. So I didn't get any paint. So I'm really curious, what would you make with this? Now keep in mind, it's got these grand doors that open, you know, they open like that. So it lends itself to a business with those grand doors. And it lends itself to someone living up in the house above, you know, like a business, and they live upstairs. So please tell me. I would love to know, what would you do? What color would you paint it? Okay, thanks a lot. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for viewing. Bye.